Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 11, Episode 37, overall 587 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been the official sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show for the past 3 years. And a special thank you to Mark Cullen and Paul Cullen as well. And Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. I hope everyone is doing well on this. I can't believe it's already Monday, September 8th, 2025. And before we bring on our guest today, I want to say something. I've been one of Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. I've been one of his harshest critics and skeptics, and I want to say I'm wrong. I apologize. Josh Allen last night brought back Buffalo down 15 points in the fourth quarter at home and beat Baltimore 41-40 with a little help from Derrick Henry's fumble. But I got to give Josh Allen credit. He played like a champion last night and got a win for the Buffalo Bills. So I will say I'm wrong, but he still has to prove he can do it in the playoffs. That's where Hall of Fame quarterbacks are made, or in the postseason. But I want to say to my Bills Mafia, I was wrong. Congratulations on your 41-40 win over Baltimore. And there's Monday Night Football tonight between Chicago and Minnesota at 8:15 p.m. as well. And that's why I love sports. We all love sports because of the drama. Nothing in sports is ever guaranteed, and the games always go to the last second. So I do like my reality TV. I love my drama, and that's why I like sports and football as well. Looking forward to my guest today. This is her first appearance on our show. I met her through Facebook, and my guest's name is Nikki Stiles Baker. She is the founder and CEO of her own company called Super Flyers LLC, a graphic design and digital art company, a best-selling author, and the 19th governor of the Southeast District of the NANBPWC as well. And we're going to bring on our guest today, Nikki Stiles Baker.
Hey.
Good afternoon, Nikki. How are you?
Hey, Chris, I'm great. It's beautiful outside here in Alabama.
You're in Alabama, and I'm in Ontario near Toronto, and it is a nice sunny day, and it's around 70 degrees. It's a perfect day. I agree with you.
It's beautiful. I see some sunlight rolling in, and I'm happy to be with you, and this is going to be a day party.
Absolutely. And we already have a viewer watching us on Facebook. Her name is Brenda Chambers. She wants to say, hey, Nikki Stiles Baker.
Hey.
So how do you know Brenda Chambers?
I love Brenda Chambers. Brenda Chambers is one of my NANBPWC Inc. sisters. And that's an acronym. And it's always a tongue twister for most people who try to articulate it. But we happen to be the Southeast District, which is our organization, is broke up into 5 districts over the United States and internationally. But in the Southeast District, we all have clubs, and she was a past president of a club that we all are business and professional women who pledge to do community service in our community. We make sure to give away scholarships. We make sure that whatever is in that unique community, their groups find out what that community needs, but especially focus on young people, high schoolers, junior high and high school, as well as women trying to get into professions or go further in their career or start their business. So I became as you said, the 19th district governor. And Miss Chambers is a lovely sister. She lives in Columbus, where we will be having our next conference in March coming up. So I'm really excited about that. It'll be our 68th annual district conference. So that's just the Southeast District. Our national organization just turned 85. So it's amazing to be a part of a group of women that don't have any corruption, don't have any of that stuff that a lot of organizations just still around, still doing great things. And so I'm proud to say that she's one of my organization's sisters. Hey.
What does it mean to be the 19th governor of it? And can you tell my audience here in Little Canada, what does the NANBPWC stand for?
Oh, I would love to. It's a long acronym. The organization was formed in 1934. And at that time, in the United States at least, that's when a lot of groups were beginning to incorporate and start nonprofits. So you saw a real birth of nonprofits after the Great Depression. Unfortunately, however, African American people or people of color were not allowed to join professional organizations still. It just was discouraged. It wasn't the norm to be allowed to those groups. But so if you were a business professional person thinking about what I could do for my community, like, well, they figured that our founders figured, let us start our own. So the acronym NANBPWC stands for the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women's Clubs Incorporated. So for people my age group, the millennials, a lot of people have a problem with the term Negro. And unfortunately, some people have a problem with the term Black because it's just like the term Moors. It's not a term that anyone named themselves. It was a name that other people called you. And so, some people like the N-word have decided, let's keep the name so that we can remember that unfortunately we were omitted from things. And even today, we will be omitted from things, and hopefully encourage that we can continue to shape things for ourselves. And that picture I got there, I did bring one of these poems that I wrote a long time. It's called Super Black. And that's what's in that other picture I'm speaking from. But that was something that I formed way back when I was just going into college. Just this ideology of, I would hear in the Black community, like, who's going to make things better, and we were always looking for a leader. And I remember, we were looking for a leader. And I remember Colin Powell. Everybody wanted Colin Powell to run for American president at some point when he was a leader of the defense. And he just was kind of like, nah, I don't think so. Right. And I didn't blame him because, it's a lot to put on the line to lead a group of people in a country that may not have your back, right? That may not be ready to go in that direction. And so I kind of made a personal pledge about what could I do personally in my everyday life to make a difference. Like, I didn't need some far off, distant thing. Like, I don't know if my money's going to somebody, sometimes in another country. I wanted to know, is there something I could do to help people, like, right in front of me, right? Like my next door neighbor, like people who really needed help. And so from high school, this group gave me a scholarship to go to the first college I went to, which was just a $500, what you call a book scholarship. It wasn't a lot, but being that my mother was divorced, and working as a single parent, and she had a great job, she's college educated, but it just wasn't enough. So I kind of believe in what we call paying it back. I believe in giving back in the way that it's been given to me. I believe that all good things come from above, and that's a mystical thing, but I believe it comes from some greater divine space that I call God. And as a result, it's my duty to give it back. And so I love giving scholarships. My dream is that I could get wealthy enough that I could be called a philanthropist. I did win also with this organization a National Volunteer Award for a working person. That was in 2013, but this organization means so much to me. So to be the 19th governor of the Southeast District, the organization was formed in New York City. The founders were realtors. They were women who had means for 1934. And they figured, you know what, we can put our resources together and we can do something on our own. And so even today, maybe some of my attitudes about when I hear people talking about grants being cut or this type of thing in the US, I go, okay, I get it. But there's a highest authority that I believe that I would refer to that is all powerful, is abundant, and provides everything for us. So trying to move myself, when you told me you deal with anxiety, I have to, but just working on the fact that us together, we're stronger together. So for many years in my business, what I talk about a lot in my book is I reached many points of burning out because I was trying to do everything by myself. So to be in an organization now is helping me grow. I realize none of us can do anything by ourselves. Maybe that'll be my next book. You can't do it by yourself. You can't, you can't do it by yourself. And it was a hard lesson to learn, right? Like you can pivot on a dime on a unicycle, but if you want to drive to the next state, you need some wheels, right? You need 2, 3, 4 wheels. So the blessing that exists in being in an organization of people who have the same values and have the same alignment. There's still people, it's not perfect, but you would rather 3 bad wheels than one good will. You can't go very far with one great will. So I think you were on the talk that we did last week, the Who Not How, where we talked about the story about Michael Jordan, who sat on the Bulls for 6 seasons with no championships. It wasn't until development and the addition of some great team members and a coach and a trainer that he began to see championships. So I don't care how great you are, this is my lived experience. You are nothing without other people. And I believe that nature designed us to do it together. So to be the 19th governor, what the governor means in this organization is I oversee or manage the clubs in the states. So we have 7 states in what we call the Southeast District of the United States in this organization. That includes Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama. We don't have any clubs in Alabama now. North Carolina, South Carolina, and West Virginia. And I might have left something out. But that's most of them. And so we as most organizations, we meet annually. That is when we do our organization's business. And the business is about just making sure that those clubs are in what we call compliance, that they're doing the programs that they have set out to do, and that we help them do that. So we take it very seriously. We also have a vocal arts competition that's very important to help people of color who are specializing young people in classical music. So that would be opera. The competition used to be called the Leontine Price competition. Now we call it the Mary E. Singletary competition for vocal arts. So if there's any vocal artists out there seeking, and especially if you're in those Southeast states, hit us up at the southeast-nambpwc.org website. I would love to talk to you, but we love to give scholarships, and we just love to help people where they are. So even if you're just in any of those states and you need anything that's going to help you go further as a business or professional, please contact us.
Can you tell us a little more about Brenda Chambers and how you met her?
Yeah, Brenda Chambers. Well, Brenda Chambers was the president of the Greater Columbus Club, and she was always jovial. I know that she had a florist shop for a long time, and I had talked to her many times. And I've only been governor now for 1 year. I'm going into my 2nd year now. I had only saw her marginally, but I went down there to go check on a space for our next conference. And she was just delightful. We went to have lunch. She took me to the best place with the best, I don't know if you know what lima beans. Do you know what lima beans are?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, do you like lima beans?
No.
Okay, well, I like lima beans, okay? And you gotta have lima beans, and they just go with certain things you have to have together, right? If you eat them by yourself, maybe they're disgusting. I don't know. And I don't eat a lot of pork, but they do need some pork in it to taste wonderful. Okay, but you got lima beans, you get cornbread, I like collard greens. I like a lot of green. I like a lot of vegetables, and maybe that's why I moved to Alabama. But Brenda Chambers, she was with us. She knew her son is in government. Her husband, he has a band. He's just very active. They're very active in the community and have been for a long time. And it was a delight. And the funny thing, Chris, I got to say about Brenda Chambers is we had this long lunch. She let me pour out my heart. And you think you talk a lot. I talk a lot, right? But she let me pour out my heart. And just before I got ready to leave, she said, Nikki, I want you to do a podcast. I was like, what? Now, this is only like a month or two ago, Chris. So my whole further, farther, faster thing has just kind of been something unfolding, like I said, maybe in some, I don't know, mystical way. But it has been, I have been fortunate to have the opportunities, and now I'm trying to take advantage of the opportunities that I believe God put in front of me. So this whole red thing, our organization's colors are red and yellow. So I have already had a lot of red clothes, right? And I know red can be thought of as very garish, but red can also represent life and power, life energy. And in America, it means red, like the stop sign, but it can also mean fire and action. So as I was telling you, the artwork that was behind me was my old business logo with this yellow and green. And I said, no, I'm ready to go for red. I want to go full forward, full life ahead. So I do want to thank Brenda Chambers for encouraging me that day. And ever since that day, she has continued to be encouraging and just saying, hey, you got it. Oh, and she's the only person I know that posts probably more than me and you put together, Chris. So you need to check out Brenda Chambers on Facebook because she's on there like every day. I know that she's I want to call it stewardship, but it's a high level. I don't know what you call it. It's not an usher in her church. She's very active in her church, but what I loved is she wasn't like some church people get overly preachy. She was just very natural and loving, and my parents are gone on, so
I'm sorry.
it's okay. But I told her, "You're not my mom. I'm just gonna make you be my auntie or big sister." So and so she has been that. So I just want to say thank you to her. She's still listening. Yeah.
And I wouldn't have met you through Facebook and through your podcast as well. And everyone always talks about the negative aspects of social media and the
Mhm.
internet, but there are a number of wonderful people who I've had on as guests and actually made friendships through here as well.
Yes, I agree. We really were forced, our organization, the majority of our members are over age 65. And we were kind of forced to have to use Zoom. I had never used Zoom before COVID. But we used it so much at that time. I became, before I was governor, I was what we call the district technology chair. So that just meant I'm the person you call when something goes wrong with your computer, right? And I was willing to be that, and it felt good to be that. But unfortunately, I learned a lot of skills that I was able to turn into more business. So again, I don't know. I was fortunate. I was fortunate and willing to accept what was being put in front of me. So
The internet really does kind of shrink the world down, doesn't it?
it does. It does. I just met a friend. I don't know if it's a real person yet, but she was a lady. I believe she's in France, and she was asking me if my grandmother was Josephine Baker, and she told me that her grandmother was friends with Josephine Baker, and she told me I resembled her, and I was like, I'm not really sure. And she said, you so resemble her. She's like, just call me sometimes. And she's in Miami and in Paris, back and forth. And so it's almost like you said, the world has shrunk so quickly. And it's probably going to do that more and more over the next few years with the light speed growth of social media, and along with AI. What we will be able to do will be boundless. I just wrote a program, a script, the first program through AI. I had to run it almost like 40 times for it to work. But I'm like, wow, if I could teach myself graphic design and now I can write programs with AI, with ChatGPT, there's no limit to what many of us can do. Yeah, I'm sorry I was crying. Y'all had me crying.
Oh, I want to try to get you to laugh. No crying on this. No crying on live with CDP. Laughing only.
Okay.
But AI can be a good tool. But do you find AI can also diminish the workforce in the next decade or the next 5 years?
Of course, I believe it can diminish it. I was talking about this the other week on my podcast. A tool misused is a weapon, right? So we talk about gun control. Have you ever seen what was that thing? The nine and the Bowling for Columbine. Have you ever seen that documentary?
No, I have not.
Okay, I'm not gonna talk about it because that might get you cut off. But I'll say this: any tool misused can be a weapon, right?
Yeah.
Or a hindrance. Any tool used properly. So how do we ensure that AI as a tool is used safely and properly? We know it's not likely that we will get rid of it. So I think we really need to put some thought into how do we safeguard how it's being used and teach how it should be used. So by teaching how to use it, we is our best bet. I just finished a book the other day, back to Who Not How. I'm crazy about that book right now. But he ends it saying, "I thank my mother for teaching me that reading is more important than school." And I was I felt I agreed with him, but I was like, why do you agree with him? And I think because reading or learning on your own gives your mind the opportunity to develop and connect what it needs to connect. Whereas sometimes school is a curriculum and a training meant to guide you in a certain direction that may not be the best direction for you. And therefore, we have many students who are brilliant or could have been creatives that drop out, walk away with maybe like church, that go another direction because some dogmatic effort is meant to try to mold them in a way that their nature is telling them is not good for them. So, so I think with AI, that's where I'm trying to learn as much as I can. I'm taking cybersecurity training. I'm taking AI training. I'm jumping out there and just doing it. So that back to like with my organization, so that I could better direct children and seniors, and the middle people. If they don't want to go, they don't want to go. But for those who, my mom sent her first email at age 60, and by the time she had died at 69, I saw her writing for grants. So, and she just went to the library and learned. So maybe there's something in my family that has a high value for learn for yourself. Like even in our church, you needed to know how to read the Bible for yourself. And so all of the other scripture or literature I've read, I really believe in, and some people say that's dangerous. And if you don't let that mind go do what it wants to do, but I encourage people to learn for themselves. And anybody that I've ever met that I see has an interest in learning, I'm there because it's so rare to see. So I think it's going to be important for us to learn how to use this tool. I did listen to the founder of ChatGPT, and anybody who wants to go see him, he's out there all over YouTube. But they were asking, will this make people more lazy? We know it's going to make people lose jobs. We know that. So can we use it to create jobs? Right? Can people who lose jobs become entrepreneurs? Can they create new organizations? Can they create new schools of thought? They can if they decide they can, but if we stay focused on the loss of jobs, then we're just stuck there. But the answer is yes. There will be lots. And if you wait for whoever is taking away the jobs to make new jobs, they'll probably have you on a plantation of a place making AI chips. And maybe you'll get paid whatever minimum wage is. Or maybe they'll have people doing it in another country. So that'll be your choice of the job, right? That would be the new school housekeeper or janitor, right? Or, so like take it or leave it. Other than, so I think that those are not the only options that are available to us, right? But you must be proactive. You must put on the red. You must take some action, right? Don't wait for someone to hand it to you, because obviously someone's taking something from you.
100% agree with you, Nikki. And Brenda Chamberlain goes, love you, Nikki Baker. Thank you for the kind words. And then Brenda again says yes. And Brenda, I want to say thank you for coming on here as a viewer. And if you have more comments or questions for Nikki or myself or anyone else watching, please do so. Nikki, I wanted to ask you this as well, without getting into the political stuff. Do you think Kamala Harris would have made a great president?
I do. I think Hillary would have made a great president too. You know.
Do you see a day in your country that a female will be president? I think it's more than time. I think it's more than time for one.
I definitely see a day where a woman will be president of the United States. When, I don't know. I guess when people get, you know, I think in life, because this is in my own personal life, we kind of go to extremes, you know, we go bounce from this side to that side. So we go extremely hard, then extremely soft, you know, if the goal of life is to kind of try to stay in the middle. But I think, you know, sometimes if you've been in a bad relationship for a long time, you choose a time to just be by yourself. Right. So I think we haven't hit this wall yet that we're going to. We haven't hit the wall yet. When we hit that wall, then I think we'll bounce back the other direction. But so I think we're going to have to hit a wall though. And I'm ready. That's life, you know.
Last question about politics, because I don't want to get into it too much. Just, I want to get your thoughts. Do you find the current administration has kind of set back the country even 100 or 200 years?
I'm going to say no, because I think saying yes is the easy answer. I don't believe in setbacks like that. And like I said, that's why I got this poem right here called Super Black that I wrote up with Colin Powell. I wanted him to run, but I understood. Like, I have to always think, what if I were president, right? I believe that the gentleman that is the president of the United States at this time is making the best decisions that he can make and the best approach that he can take and following through with the promises that he made. And therefore, the people who voted for him expect him to do that. And coming from Donald Trump's business background and probably his family upbringing, and that is what he's teaching his children, to follow the path no matter what. So there's not a lot of flexibility. It's a very rigid approach. And he explained, I mean, and just like Obama did, hey, we're going to have to, he wants to make America great again. It's already a reference to the past, right? So, you know, my slogan is further, farther, faster. You know, the past has already happened. So is it really a setback though? So from, like I said, on this level it is, but on God's level, the highest level, and I know that's out there, but I have to always go, remember the Hebrew National commercial? We have a higher authority to answer to. So for me, it's very difficult to put any one human in the phase of that they could have that much power, right? To really set back the whole world. I know we can look back at some other historical examples of people who we can say have put major challenges in front of us. But even that, you know, the college that I went to, Talladega College, we have these beautiful murals of the Amistad story. And we learned different people read it different ways, but African Americans and Black people in America have been resilient because of what we went through, right? And I'm not saying it's good that we went through it, but we are resilient. We're able to smile, able to laugh, able to bless you, able to move forward, able to look good, despite slavery, despite Jim Crow, despite all of that, and still have a heart for other people. So in some weird way, you know, like nobody wants to be a victim. I was talking about this today. There was a time in my life where I was physically assaulted by strangers. I could stay stuck in how that makes me feel and how wrong it is and question God, or I could say, what have I learned from it? So I believe what I have learned, especially being a part of an organization that represents Black people, Black women. My grandmother immigrated to this country as a maid. I don't think that my grandmother would say that we have gone back 200 years. I think she would say it's time to make sure that we keep moving forward, right? So
not backwards.
Right. And so it's hard when you feel defeated, but who's angry at the end of the game? Chris, the losers. The winners are not angry. The winners are happy. Even if they got broke legs and ribs, they're happy because they did everything they were supposed to do to win that championship. The losers are only happy. The losers just sit around and wait for the winners to lose. So we get discouraged when we feel like we're losing. So more importantly, we got to get in the mindset of what does a win look like? Like I said, if we're teaching how to do better, if we have a community, and when we know we're moving together, it doesn't matter what the opposition does. It doesn't matter. Let them do what they do because we came prepared to win. So, but if we say, oh, they just set us back, oh, we got a penalty, we had to go back, I don't know, 10 yards, right? No, you didn't set me back. Or even with the setback, watch what I'm about to do. Watch this. But you can't do that without practice. You can't do it without plan. And like I said, like Michael Jordan, you can't do it without a team. So the other great thing you said about social media is this is a great time to build community again and finding people with like values. The tricky thing is I have a lot of people who send me stuff in my DM and then they get mad because I don't read it or I don't discuss what I read. Oh, Brenda reminded me, our slogan is a trademark slogan, moving forward with a purpose. And you can't really move forward. You really can't advance. You really can't win without the purpose. Every team got a uniform, right? Every team got to show up for practice. What are you practicing? You're gonna play just like you practice. We don't play no plays that we didn't practice. So I'm gonna up my sports intake, but on principle, these principles work all the time. So even if the other team set you back 200 years, what are you gonna do about it? So I don't know. So I'll leave my answer as I don't know. But I am telling you that it's my intention to move myself and as many people that I can forward.
Have you thought about branding that on a T-shirt?
What's that? The further, farther, faster, or moving forward with a purpose?
Moving forward with a purpose.
Oh, we got that on all kind of stuff. Yeah, but I think we can make some more. Brenda Chambers, you can help me make some moving forward with a purpose T-shirt.
And there's my own mug. I have my own mug with my own logo.
Okay. Well, maybe that's what we should make, some moving forward with a purpose of mugs, and then I'll send you one, Chris.
And I'll send you one of mine.
Okay. Well, I just got the all white mug right now, so I need some designs on it.
These mugs are getting bigger and heavier all the time.
They are. Yours is huge.
I know. So, Nikki, are you still good with time? And I have some questions for you.
I'm great. What you want to know?
I'm based out of the Toronto area here in Canada, not far from Buffalo, not far from Detroit. Can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself? Where did you attend school, and did you have any early influences and mentors in your schooling when you were starting out?
Okay. When you say school, you mean like previous to university or university level?
University level.
Okay. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, born and raised, going to the beach, family, Cuban and Bajan, but just grew up with a very diverse family. I started my career out when I first was ready to go to college. My mom was struggling with getting the money, so I decided to work a couple of jobs to to get it. So that was the start of my first business. And maybe some early influences. I always liked, well, people that I didn't know. But I always liked the artist Prince. My brother used to listen to a variety of music and in our house, and I came across some Prince albums when I was really small, and I just loved that he was a musician, a writer, a singer, a composer, a dancer, just everything, and I thought a thinker and a courageous person. And so as I grew up, the people like that, or like Josephine Baker, just other people that I saw, I was like, I'm going to be like that. Unfortunately, I didn't know those people in my home where I was from. The people I knew in my home area that were more like that. I mean, we had people like Luke Skywalker, banned in the USA. And, at least I say he represented the freedom of speech. And, I grew up, I'm X generation, where we said F the police, that's not good, but that's the generation I did grow up seeing young men being arrested, lined up, laid out on the pavement. When I graduated high school, people were getting shot at school. So I was very happy to leave Florida when I left, because I wanted to go somewhere with more family values. I went, the two major universities I went to was the University of Miami, which is in Coral Gables, which is like the Club Med of colleges, huge Olympic swimming pool, bar on campus, everybody drinking beer, everybody wearing Birkenstocks and khakis, that's just the way it is. And then going to a HBCU in Alabama was they were like night and day experiences. Both very enriching. When you go to a HBCU, which is what we call historically black college, the curriculum is based on trying to get you to understand what does it mean that you're African American in America? What does that mean? And I remember I had a humanities course. Maybe some of my role models were like some of my professors. I was in love with school, but I had a humanities professor who was African. I forgot which country he was from, but he says, I am so tired of you telling me you don't want to learn humanities, right? Because these are not black people. He says, you're going to find yourself in a room one day where someone is going to say you and your people have contributed nothing to the culture of humanity. And I'm glad that he told us that then, because that has happened many times. We even hear it happening now, that someone would insinuate that certain people were not meant to be human. I don't know, treated like human or made for greatness. And so he says, there's going to come a day when you're going to be in a room of intellectuals, and they're going to ask you, if so, what is it that you have contributed? And you don't really have to really give a defense to anybody, but it would be good to know. It gives you a sense of honor. It gives you a sense of respect to know, yes, I too am worthy. I too, as ordinary as I might be, I too, and the line of people I come from are worthy of honor, right? It don't matter if they were alcoholics. Doesn't matter. We all, like if you go back far enough, we all got everything in our family, right? And if we go back far enough, we are all family. There's a great video on National Geographic channel called The Human Family Tree. I love it. But so some of my heroes were people who just exuded this understanding, these principles that I'm talking about, that we are all human. We are all one family. People who had that message. So people like Prince, people like Josephine Baker. I don't know. I never got to meet Socrates, but I read a lot. I read Plato's Republic. So I had these imaginary role models, and I had my mother, and I had my grandmother, and they were my role models. My grandmother was a maid, and she had to work on Miami Beach, and she had to be back. She had to have a special license to go over there to clean people's houses, because if you were black, you were not supposed to be on the beach after hours unless you were there for work. And so that's what she did. But she did it so much and she did it so well that she was able to leave 7 properties to her children before she died. I was like, you go, girl, right? And so she was also able to put my mother through college, right? And send her to nursing school and send her so that's what 7-8 years of college. So we're fortunate. So those were my heroes. My grandmother used to go to what we call Overtown to watch Cassius Clay, or we would say Muhammad Ali box, right? So I admire Muhammad Ali. You know, I admire athletes. I admire people who, like I said, who moved forward anyway, right? So if my grandmother immigrated in 1900 and raised her children in this country, made money and was able to do that, I'm like, that's amazing. So you couldn't tell me what I couldn't do. Or my grandfather he taught himself piano, and he taught himself so well, he opened a school and taught children, boys, for free. So I'm about that life. I love the idea that it doesn't matter how capable you are. I've made so many mistakes trying to start my business and in life, but those mistakes don't deter me. They inspire me because I can see every little mistake is a lesson learned. And I have these people who try to do it perfectly. Those are not the people that I admire. I admire the people who have courage enough to say, I don't know the answers. Sometimes we don't know the answers. Be honest about it. Say, I changed my mind. That doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, I did that, but I'm not doing that now. Those are the kind of people I admire, like Brenda Chambers. I admire Brenda Chambers. It's not just pretty words. It's just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And that power, like you said, we have anxiety, we have depression, we have all kinds of the people who just say, look, we're going to do it anyway. Move forward anyway. How I got into this position as governor is I had a series of people saying I was the national editor for the newspaper in this organization as well as other newspapers. But it always came from someone saying, Nikki, you should try. So probably my greatest accomplishment was following instructions or just believing that God was speaking through another person to me, not letting my brain get in the way, because we all do that. We all have an ego that makes us think we're this or we're that. You're not this or that. You can become, right? So what you have been your whole life may not be what you're going to be today or tomorrow. And really all you got is today. So I admired and have admired and still admire the people who keep me grounded right there in what are you going to do right now mode. What are we going to do right now? Like Chris doing this podcast. I admire you, Chris. I don't even know you from a can of paint, but I really do. I admire the work that I see that you put in. I admire your dedication. You're on time. You're professional. You dealing with real people. I heard you talking about your work at the Humane Society. I'm about that life. I like that. I like all of that.
Thank you so much. And I'm just trying to prove to the radio and media industry, age is just a number and not a liability. And being self-taught is not a liability either. Education is important in the classroom, but education doesn't stop outside of a classroom. And you don't have to pick one career when you're in high school and stick with it your whole life. And I reinvented myself 6 years ago, and I love doing the show because I love the storytelling aspect. I love the listening aspect as well. And I like proving people wrong. And I wanted to get your thoughts, Nikki, on people who like to belittle others.
Those people who belittle others are usually narcissistic bullies. And we know that the narcissist in their mind feels really small, which a lot of us feel small. But the difference with the narcissist is in order to feel like something, they must put other people down. So if they feel like they're here, the only way they can feel okay is to do this to you. Get down. Get down. You don't look good. Get down. You're not smarter than me. Get down. So it's just nonsense. So when you see bullying in any way, form, I don't care who's doing it, I would recommend you should feel a sense of, I try to feel a sense of empathy for that person and get away from them because they're dangerous, right?
Toxic.
They're toxic because they will do things to, we know the term now, gaslight you, right? They do things to triangulate, or when you say love bomb you. We just had Stephanie LaSala, you can find her at the Date Profiler on our boot camp. But all she does is profiles narcissists. So in case you don't know if you're dealing with one or not, if you've dealt with one or two before, you know one when you see one. But if you don't know and you're confused, get some help, okay? Because they will have you locked in and they will have you confused, because they usually start with some sort of love bomb. And that's why it hurts so bad, because they usually, the bully, my son had a bully when he was in school, and they called me to the school one day after the boy had slammed him on the table, and they called me around lunchtime, and I got ticked off because he did this about breakfast time. And my son, I said, isn't this the boy that was at our house like a week ago that you were playing the video game with? He was like, yeah. So they were really good friends at one point, but now what happened is my son was talking in breakfast. He opened up the syrup flew on the boy's shoe, and the same boy who was at our house playing this video game picked him up and slammed him on the table. And I saw something in that for me, as well as, like you said, even in the adult world. So the person who can't stand you because they really admire you is going to try to get close to you. And they're probably going to do something very nice, right? To bait you up, reel you in, bring you close, tell you they love you, tell you you're great, maybe even buy you a gift, right? It's going to be something so huge, it's going to confuse you, and you're going to think, no, this is my friend. And so when they go the other way and go, why are you asking me that, stupid? You know, it's going to be subtle, and then it's going to really hit you. This person can't stand me. But the person they really can't stand is themselves. And like that little boy, I remember when I said to my son, I said, well, why is he over here so late? I said, does he have parents at home? I said, I'm going to call his house just to be sure it's all right for him to be here this late. So when I called the little boy's house, a little girl answered the phone. I was like, hey, I'm just calling to see, are your parents there? And she said, no, only me. And I was like, how old are you? And she was like, 9. So the little boy had to be like 7. So I'm like, wait, you 7 and 9 and you're home by yourself? I mean, it can happen to anybody, but this is just the same thing playing out in the childhood world. So this little boy is over at our house playing. You got a mommy. You might not be thinking of it because you don't have a daddy, right? But you're not thinking that you're blessed. But the narcissist bully sees your blessing, and he doesn't, or your fortune, whatever you want to call it, and he don't like it. So he intends to snatch it from you. Even if it's not a literal take it away, he intends to remove your happiness, your joy, your peace that comes from the fortune that you have that he doesn't perceive that he has. But he will play, or she will play like she has. So bully is a very complicated person. We see it a lot in politics. We see it all over the place. We see it at work.
Not just kids, it's adults too.
Yeah, it's adults too. And so Brent says, love yourself, right? And so you have to love yourself enough to protect yourself. And when you see the sign of a bully, even if it's, and there's so many ways, it's just, coercion, there's soft manipulation. Somebody knows you like something, but let me talk about the triangulate. So now you got a group of people, right? Let's say it's your girlfriend, and she goes, oh my God, I don't know why my ex-boyfriend keeps calling me. Right? Oh my God. And then maybe she just wants you to take her to dinner. I don't know. Maybe she's just trying to screw with your mind to manipulate you, but she's doing it by, your best friend told me I look so beautiful. Oh, really? So again, if you're trying to put distance between you and the people that would love you and care for you and make you feel like they're the only important person for you. So it's kind of a form of isolation. So even if they don't have you physically isolated, they will get you mentally isolated so that only they can control you. So when you were talking about ventriloquist puppet, that's the real puppet master, right? The bullies. And there's so many different ways that bullies operate. So watch out.
Do you feel with social media and the internet, belittling's increased too?
I know that it has. Yeah, it's easy to hide behind a screen and an avatar and a screen name and say whatever you want to say, you know, whether you mean it or not. I've had friends. I had one friend before I really got into this phase of social media. I might have posted like once a month, and it was only if I had accomplished something. And I tried to respond to people. I just didn't get social media very much. But a long time that I thought was friend posted to me, "You're so vain. You're supposed to." I just was putting little hearts on all of the comments, like heart, 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 heart. Like, I don't got time for this. Heart, 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 heart. He's like, "You're so vain. Don't you know you're supposed to respond to everybody?" And I wanted to say, well, what makes me vain? You know, and so obviously he had been thinking that before, or maybe he didn't think that at all. So I am learning that, especially in the social media space, it's a good practice ground for not giving an F, for not giving a fart, right? So again, also, if you have purpose, give a fart about that. There's another good book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, but they spell it out. But it reminds you that you only have so many F's to give a day, right? Let's say you got 10 things you're really going to care about today. What that person is doing to stop you from doing these 10 things should not get one of your F's, right? Imagine these F's were dollars. You don't get to get one of my F's, right? And so I always say, just because somebody throws you a hot potato don't mean you got to catch it. Let it go, right? Let it fall by the wayside. Instead, focus on those things that are important to you, those people that are important to you, the purpose or the legacy that's important to you. And
toxic people, I call it. And Nikki, I wanted to ask you about this too. Toxic can be family, it can be friends, it can be coworkers, it can be neighbors. Also, your gut feeling. If your gut feeling tells you somebody is not a good person, you should listen to your gut feelings too.
I agree 100%. And some people will say, "Oh my God, you're overreacting." That's probably the person you need to watch out for. Saying, "Oh my God, you're overreacting." I'm a strong proponent of that. Like I said, when I was assaulted, I was 16 years old, but I took self-defense courses after that. I learned to better read the room. I learned to better listen, really, like active listening to people. And I remember my mom telling me, if you think it better to be safe than sorry, right? So if a person is not trying to harm you, I like you said, back to bully. I would describe an ex relationship of mine as a bully, narcissist type person, and I would often they were trying to get me to move away from my home, and I was really big on no. I want to take my time. I want to, I want to make sure. I want to make sure this is safe, and just someone to keep coercing and pressuring me through every manner, whether it was verbal, not too much physical, but every mental means that they could. And it just boiled down to it was an unsafe situation. And my instincts told me that, and I'm glad that I followed my instincts. And so therefore I wasn't harmed. And I'm happy that I felt like I passed the final test. Like, okay, now you don't have to do anything to satisfy what somebody thinks about you. Oh, you're overreacting. Whatever. So what? Oh, you're paranoid. Okay, that's fine. Better safe than sorry.
Brenda says focus on your energy.
Yes. Focus on your energy, not other people's energy. Because again, I guess like a tidal wave, other people's energy will redirect you. But you've had the time to sit down and think about what is important to you. So why would we give other people that much power in our life?
It affects your mental health as well.
Definitely, if you let it. So that's what I mean. There's something to be said about being resilient. You don't get to make me your puppet unless I let you or I want you to. Right? No, you don't get to make me your puppet. All right.
100% agree with you, Nikki. And if you're okay for time, I got some more questions for you.
Okay.
Can you just tell us about your experience as a print and video model in the 1990s, and how much did that impact your career presently?
Well, I got into bikini modeling because it was easy. The only sport I've ever done in my life was I was on the swim team. So again, we're back in Miami, and I was a swimmer. So wearing a bathing suit was nothing. I wasn't voluptuous as the 90s would like women to be, the video vixens. I was never voluptuous. I was more athletic and I don't know, something else. Funny shaped, but small. So I was able to get away with wearing a bikini. So I used to do bikini contests, bikini modeling. I worked for a company called Black Models Network. That experience, and I did some videos, and I did some commercials, and I did some series, and I did some extra work. But what that did for me is, first, it made me feel really bad about myself because I wasn't willing to do some of the cosmetic things that were expected. Like I wasn't going to get plastic surgery. One audition I went to, I remember it was for a Pepsi commercial. They wanted Black people who knew how to play croquet. So I don't know how to play croquet, okay? And so I was like, croquet. And then on the audition, I was the shortest person there. I don't know why everybody else was like a foot taller than me. And I felt so inadequate. And they said, we want everybody to dance. And I'm like, I don't dance. Okay, I'm like, the way I dance is not the way they're dancing. They were dancing like they knew how to play croquet. And I'm like, I don't know how to play croquet, and I don't know how to dance like that. So, so initially, it scared me away from that. And I was like, I'm not for this whole modeling thing. It's not me. It's too superficial. It's not me. So that's what happened first. But what it has done now to shape who I am, I'm able to recall how I was able to step into some situations that were very scary, that made, like Brenda said, made me second guess myself. Am I good enough, right? And now at 50, like, what is good enough, right? Or is it purposeful enough, right? If I know I'm showing up to the game, and I practice every day like it's supposed to practice, and I've observed my strengths and my weaknesses as well as my opponent's strengths and weaknesses, and I play like I practice, I came to win. So in situations where I know that I've won, even like with running for elections and or jobs that I've got, proposals that have been approved, that I'm showing up fully competent, fully confident that I'm about to win. And it feels good now to be able to say the difference between not knowing if you are enough and knowing you're showing up just right is amazing. So I needed to go that process of being unsure about me, of falling for the bully games. So I think I brought, this is not so much a modeling thing, but this was an ad I did way back then. And this is like little pictures of me and my son's dad. But so this is when I kind of went from modeling to the design. And probably back then I was using Microsoft Word before I really got into into the Photoshop suite. So I had just put these here. These are some early things that I had put together. So the modeling helped take me into the entertainment industry, where I did copyright registrations for records. At the same time, I was going to college for literature before I started studying business. And so I really got into writing, poetry. Then I started promoting poetry. And that took me further into, I started my own nonprofit. Then I started several businesses. So I don't know. That thing was everything, because it told me I could get up and put on a bikini and walk out in front of strangers like I wasn't self-conscious about my body. That means I could definitely step out about something that I am confident that I can do.
Nikki, I have a viewer watching from California, Los Angeles, California. He's going to be on my show on September 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern. His name is Edward Hearn. He is a motorcycle racer, and he was in the military service for 20 years, and now he drives motorcycles. And Edward's a friend of mine too, besides being a guest. He wants to
Okay.
ask you, Nikki, as a motorcycle racer, I tend to tune people out a week before I race. Is this okay? That's what Edward Hearn is asking you.
Oh, hell yeah. I think so. Edward, I think that is very smart. I think I'm a little bit ADHD, but I am working on tuning people out myself. I had started telling some days now I'm doing this podcast on Friday. I need to tune people out at least that whole day. There's a book I read. Was it Atomic Habits? But it was talking about how rest and downtime is much more as important as your practice and active time. So, like athletes that might run a big marathon, in the year, they might take off the few months just before. So even though they might have practiced, you do need some real downtime right before the performance time to have that kind of focus. And I don't know about motorcycle racing as much, but where I am, I've been to the Talladega Speedway races, and it just impressed me that in those kind of high energy, you really need laser focus. Just a laser focus, you got to get all that noise out. You got to dump it out. And especially all the mess that other people come with, right? They don't understand why you do what you do. What are you doing that for? Like, so now that critic is always in the back of your mind. So yeah, you got to get them out. And if it takes you a week, get them out. Yeah. Thanks.
Nikki, someone else, she wasn't on. One of my friends who was a guest on a couple weeks ago. You met her too, Nikki. She's under the weather today, so I hope she feels better. Her name's Laurel Sapp. She's from Saskatchewan, so she wanted to say hi to you, and she'll watch her show later on today. She's just under the weather a
Oh,
little bit.
okay. Laurel is beautiful. It was very nice to meet her. Pleasure to hear her songs. And I went over to her photography page, which is very impressive woman, beautiful woman. Yeah.
So hopefully one day you can have her on your show as a guest.
Yes, that would be
She's
fun.
She's got an amazing story, and that's what I love about this show. And I'm looking forward to speaking to Edward too. He had a 20-year career in the U.S. military, and I think he works on aviation as a mechanic, and he loves his motorcycles. So I don't know a lot about the motorcycle industry, but I'm looking forward to having Edward Hearn on, and he's watches all my shows. So really, sometimes strangers can support you more than people that you know. I'm finding.
Oh, definitely. That's what happened with my book. My coach told us that, and my writing coach, and it was like, look, the majority of my book sales came from people I didn't know, because sometimes people you don't know, you're bonding just on the value, right? And you don't have all that mess of what you don't like about the personality. So because there's amazing opportunities when you see people like this book I just read again, Who Not How, says oftentimes entrepreneurs, even though they might be jerks to work for because they're so passionate, they tend to work very well together, right? Because they understand the drive, the focus, the passion, the work that goes into it. So just on that alone, like you and I, or you talk about Edward, there's already a certain respect without the report. Like I don't need to know every detail about your life to know for you to achieve what you are achieving, the kind of work and focus that it takes. I love that. I'm about that life, right? And if I could share it again, if we could be like the triangle with Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, right? Then you'd be like, yeah, if I could add more of that to my life, that would be what I need, right? That positive energy, like that Brenda Chambers is bringing, right? Just bring me the energy so I can move forward. For all those people that are holding you back, that remind you of your childhood, that remind you of the bullies, let's let it go. And surround yourself with people who say, let's do it. Championship. We coming to get you, Robin. We coming to get you. You ain't staying out there in that hole. We coming to get you now.
100% agree with you. Nikki, how did you end up in 1999 in Miami's cultural scene as host of the Love Jones Revival open mic and Big Mama's Mojo at the office in South Beach? How did that
Okay.
out?
That came about because I was working at a record label called TK Records. They've had many other names, but one company that they had was called Brownstone Records. And so Henry Stone is from New York, but he had a company with James Brown, hence the Brownstone. And James Brown would call and say, "Hey, let me talk to Henry." And I'm like, "Yes, Mr. Brown." I would get all kind of like weird, but like, that's James Brown on the phone. James Brown is on the phone. So there was a group of friends that I had that most of them were artists, singers, poets, rappers. Everybody wanted to be something, right? And we were doing these shows in a friend's house, and we were getting so many people there. We used to call it Friendship Fridays. So every friend of 12 friends, we had to invite 10 people. Well, that's 120 people right there. And so, and we were, I don't know, going to go to jail, but somebody was helping us get liquor from somebody's military base, and we were selling, or we were getting donations for drinks. But anyway, we had a good thing going, but it was just getting too big for the house. And at some point, someone who had came to one of these shows was the manager of a hotel, and they needed something to go on a slow night. So this was my introduction into events. And they said, "We would love you to bring it there. You don't have to pay to be there. You guys can have the door." And I was like, "Really? Okay." So this group of friends, but what happened after a while is some of those groups of friends fell away. But because I was already working in the music industry, I was a good person in that network because I could invite people from the music industry. So these up and coming artists wanted to be seen, by the likes of Luke Skywalker. So everybody thought, well, somebody who can put them on. And then at the time, what everybody knows is the city of Miami Gardens that has the big Jazz in the Gardens Fest. A lot of people in the U.S. that's come to be popular. That city was just being born at that time. So we had all this. It was like an intersection of a new city, the music industry, and then there's also a college there. The college students and just ordinary people. So it's at the place, if you've ever been to Miami, we call it the Golden Glades Interchange. This is where the Turnpike meets I-95. This is just the major thoroughfare where you're going north, south, east, or west at this part of Miami. So being at the location when we had that show there, any and everybody came through there. So it wasn't the beach. This is just outside of the beach. So later, we had run that show for about 2.5 years every week. And so we had all kind of people come through. We had a live band. It was kind of fun for the 90s. That was fun for me. It was fun. But after a while, I kind of thought this needs to shift. I needed to see something more. And so that's kind of around the time when I shifted to doing the shows on South Beach. So the office, I don't think that venue is there anymore, but there's an office in Miami, but there was an office on Miami Beach. And it was just a cool little place, a lounge. But at that time, so I went from being Nikki Stiles, and I just wanted to do something different. So we went with Big Mama, since I'm so big, right? I'm so big, so I was going to be Big Mama. So we called it Big Mama's Mojo, and we continued to do this open mic thing. But it was the Miami Beach was a beast of its own, a entity of its own. So we would just have, it doesn't matter what you did. You could be a mime. We had a guy, there's a picture that I posted last week, a guy that was a mime. It was just a regular open mic, whatever people wanted to do. But I was just blessed to just meet so many people in that process. Some of them are still, and that's kind of how I learned to do graphic design. Met all these up and coming artists. They needed CD covers back in the day. They needed flyers. We called them club flyers. They threw them on everything, on your car, in your house, whatever. These flyers are everywhere. And that's how I started doing graphic design. And some of those people are still my clients to this day, 25 years later.
Brenda Chambers says in the comment section, well-rounded governor. And wanted to ask you too, Nikki, How much of an impact did it have on your career in entertainment and promotions and doing flyers and graphics?
Well, what's it had on my current career? Well, now I'm pivoting to focus more on social media, and so I decided I'm going to focus on Facebook first because the most of the friends I have, the X generation, that's where they are. And I'm going to do the same thing I did. I learned Photoshop from one of those record companies that I worked at. Record company had Casey and the Sunshine Band. They had Betty Wright. They had some people that were really popular in the U.S. and they were doing a lot of these compilation back like the best of the 70s, like the best of the school. And so they would keep reselling these catalogs. And I remember saying to one of the artists, they had went to one of the artists' house and just took a photo of the artist on his porch, slapped that on a CD, and they were selling them the next day. And I remember saying to the artist, I said, "Did you go to school to learn how to do that?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Doesn't look like it." And I remember asking my manager, I was like, "How could you give such a famous artist such a crappy CD cover?" And he said, "Nikki, if you throw enough crap against the wall, something's going to stick." And I thought it was a dishonor, personally. I thought it was a dishonor to somebody that I thought was a great icon of art. And I remember saying to the guy, "Hey, do you have a copy of that? Because I want to learn how to do that." And so it was kind of my desire to make people look as great as they could, that I could honor them by making, I wasn't the best. I had a lot to learn. I worked for free, but to make people look the best that I could make them look. So that affects my career now, going into even in the social media world. Graphic design, we have AI now, but the need to know how to make something that captures people, that's not going anywhere. That eye for what is going to make it sell, what is going to make someone click, what is going to make someone like, what is engaging. So now I'm really studying, as I did graphic design back then, it's almost like sociology. What is it that makes masses of people act and react? And my awareness that many people are already being controlled and influenced by the images and the sounds and the visuals they see on social media. So again, as I said earlier, if we have a tool, how do we use it safely? If we have a tool, how do we start to teach it? Right? So instead of me preaching that to people, I said, well, I'm gonna just jump on in, like I always have, and learn as much as I can myself.
Nikki, quickly, what are your thoughts on the shrinking newspaper and print industries? We've already mentioned AI technology, but just thoughts on that.
Yeah, I was working in newspaper in 2015, and I'm not going to show the newspaper name, but I'm just going to flash this real quick. But quickly, I was doing layout for newspaper as well as posting news for online. And I told them, and I told everybody I knew back in that was 2015 that this is going away. And we need to make other plans. And it's going to continue. And soon we won't have paper money. It's just common sense. Paper is a resource that is costly, and ink costs even more. Ink is one of the most expensive liquids on the face of the earth. So as we continue to try to do what's cost efficient, I remember when CDs started replacing albums. And everybody was arguing about, the sound quality of the album is so much better. Yes, it is. And so live music is so much better than an album. But the reality is, and the proof shows, that humanity is choosing for more efficient. And when we first came out with camera phones, the pictures looked crappy, but it was so much more fun than taking a picture and taking it to get, and it was more instantaneous. So the proof shows that we will go for less quality in exchange for we can get it faster, it's more fun. And we know that the quality will improve later. And so the quality is now improving in all of those, almost to where we can't tell the difference between real and not real. And how do you think that's going to improve in the next 3, 4, 5 years? So newspaper, and another thing too, we used to think that newspaper as well as news was unbiased, but we know that it's not. There were people that really believed that it was, even who worked in those industries. And I think that those values are diminishing and maybe transitioning to other areas. So but there has to be people like us who say, well, you know what? There's certain values that need to be maintained, right? So I think we have to accept newspapers going bye-bye. Like I heard one comes in. Radio as we know it, it's transitioning.
The live streaming. I can do my talk show here with my laptop and my headphone quality just as good as being in a radio station.
You are. You sound just as good as being a radio station. And so, like I said, competition is what it is. So the world, we're competing with our yesterday selves. So we have to let go of yesterday and say, you know what, if I hold on so tight to yesterday, I don't get to feel the fullness. So imagine if you were 16 right now. What would you do? What would be the best thing for you? You wouldn't even know the old values, but you would say, okay, let me take what I have and do the best of it. Like I have a 20-year-old son. I want to teach him how to be safe, but how to use these tools to the max. Because tomorrow, the things that we did are going to be gone. They're going to be gone. We know it.
You have to learn to evolve with the times, change.
And like I said, I just wrote a whole program with the AI. I used AI to help me write my book. I just talked to my son about allowing me to help him write a book using AI. You can go out and get what they call a white label book, which means it's completely written for you. That's not what I did. And I maybe I'm still a little bit old school, not ready for that yet. However, why sit there and what would take somebody a year to do, you can do it in 5 days or a week. So I want to remind you and everybody else, we are living in the information age, right? So just as the Bronze Age, those who were able to get the bronze, I guess they ran the age. Those who are able to capture, use, maintain, manipulate information right now will be the leaders of this age. So just last year, this time, I wasn't using AI. This is what we were in September. I was not using AI. And we can just see how quickly AI has advanced in the last year. So what do you really think it's going to be in the next 5 years?
You see AI on TikTok now where some of these people, you have to really watch and pay attention because you think it's actually them, but it's not. It's AI generated.
Yeah.
Hey, Nikki, we've got about 10 minutes left. I could talk to you for 3 or 4 hours, so we'll definitely bring you on for part 2, but we got about 10 minutes left. For my audience, can you just tell us a little bit about all the services your company, Super Flyers LLC, provides, and how did you come about the name of it and branding and the logo?
Okay. Well, I've been Super Flyers for many, many years. At least since 1999. As long as I've been doing graphic design, I've been Super Flyers. I had this thing about being a superhero, and and then I also had this vision of since I was self-taught and I like to learn and I like to teach, I had this vision of, well, what's fly, right? And that is kind of like Superfly, like the movie Superfly, right? So I was like, that's fly, right? I'm fly, right? And I was like, can I help other people be fly? So my logo used to be a real house fly, and where I'm from, like everybody thinks they're Chevy cars, like orange and green, and Florida colors like aqua, like your Florida Marlins hat. And so I was like, I wonder if I can get a whole bunch of flies, just ordinary people. So my slogan used to be art for the people by the people. I was like, what if we didn't have to go to advertising agencies anymore? What if we didn't have to pay big dollars? What if somebody who had a criminal background who is trying to recover their life? What if a work at home mom or a kid or a teen just needed a little extra money? So when the whole gig economy talk was happening, I was like, oh yeah, I'm with that, right? I said, because sometimes people just need a little bit more and they don't need all the red tape. So I just fell in love with the concept of what Superflyers was meaning to me through the years as I was continuing to learn, and I was teaching free classes to people like elderly, I don't care who, anybody who wanted to learn, man, woman, child, dog. I'm like, you want to learn graphic design? I'll teach you. Right? So I was just teaching it to everybody. So now, like I said, as I pivoted, I changed the logo a little bit. So it's not green and yellow like that fly. I changed the logo to a moth that represents my mom. And it has some blue. That was her favorite color. That's my son's favorite color. And it's got the red, but it's a moth. And so I like the moth because it's more purposeful. The moth always flies to the light. The moth is also like the phoenix. He has a red tail, means get some fire. We ain't just lollygagging around like a butterfly. We gonna get it. We came for championship, right? So it's got the moth. The red means action. The blue is health and wellness. And the brown is just, I like brownies. So if that makes sense. So the branding now is to be warm, but purposeful, right? So there's something, again, very mystical about that when it's time for me to get up to work, it reminds me that this is bigger than just me. This is about a community of people that I can help, and hopefully a legacy that I can leave to my family like my grandmother left for us.
Nikki, we're going to wrap this up with a couple more quick questions, and congratulations on being an author and writing your first book. What was the inspiration with your book, Side Hustle, Glow Up, How to Turn Your Creativity into a Bankable Design Business? What were some of your inspirations for this book?
Main inspiration is, when I see people who feel stuck, especially as far as their career, when I see people who feel stuck with anything, that I could always refer back to, look, if I taught myself to do graphic design and I'm still doing it 25 years later, I'm able to put my son through college as an entrepreneur, right? I kind of chose, I wasn't trying to be a millionaire. I just was trying to make a living. And I saw that too in the music business. I saw people who came in and played the guitar every day for somebody else's album, and nobody knows their name, but they're making an honest living. They're not famous, but they're doing what they love and they're doing what they're blessed to do. And they just come in and take care of business every day and have fun, right? So I was like, I want to be like that. So the book, I went back and thought about all the mistakes I made. And I just thought about, well, what if I could teach someone and they didn't have to make the mistakes that I made? Like overworking themselves, right? Like it finally hit me, I can't do this by myself. So I kept thinking, okay, yeah, I got to hire people. So I remember one time I tried to get some interns and they did all the work wrong. And then I had to go back and redo the work. And then I thought, I'm not getting nobody. I got to do it all by myself. But I've burned out many, many times. I've got to put all kind of concealer under my eyes and people looking at me like, what's wrong with you? I've been accused of being on every drug or something. I'm like, no, I'm just tired. And normal people can't understand. How could you be up like that? Like you're saying, you up like that every day? Yep. And drinking Red Bull like that every day. So I talk about that a little bit in the beginning. So the book is about helping change the mindset, not just getting a business for the sake of having a business, but making the decisions to create a process that's going to help you at least create what you can live off of, right? And so I talk about mindset, I talk about finding your niche. I had found a niche with government entities, nonprofits, because they got money to pay and they don't really care they didn't care that I was working from home. They just cared that they would get the best price that they could get. So I started studying what other people were making, and then I would just charge a little bit less and just get my foot in the door. And once they saw what I was doing and they liked it, then they would keep on hiring me. So I'm just trying to teach ordinary people you can do this too. If I can do this, you can do this too. And probably not just with graphic design, in any business. But these are some things you're going to have to think about. So one thing I always hear people say is, well, I don't know how to charge for it, Nikki. How much do I charge? And like Rich Dad Poor said, so first you got to work for free. Do you even have anything that's worth selling? Because I've seen people try to sell me stuff, and I'm like, that's crap. I'm not paying for that mess. You know, like you got some millennials, they'll charge you out the wazoo, and you're like, that's not even worth it. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but this is my motivation for Side Hustle Glow Up, is because I always felt like a diamond in the rough, and I thought, I wonder how life would look if I can just step it up a little bit. Clean it up, you know, not be so ragged, not be so late night, not just being always all right on time, but if I could add a little refinement, a little process. And I think that's the answer for everybody. Like, don't be mediocre, right? Let's really go back to being great. But there's the idea of what is being great? What is your authentic self being great? So I've been fortunate because I've had a lot of that experience, and now I'm in the last quarter now, and I'm insistent on seeing a victory. So I feel like I'm in the last quarter, so I can discuss what I did the first three to get here, and I hope that it's helpful for other people. So that's what Side Hustle was. And I was going to do a giveaway. I don't know if you still have anybody on, but I was going to give you a challenge. If you can tell me what kind of shoes I have on, a little easier. They're not heels, but if you can tell me what color my shoes are, I'm going to give away a free copy of Side Hustle Club if you have someone who wants to guess.
I'll guess red shoes.
Nope. I know that would be the proper thought, but I'll give the book. I'll give a book one anyway, if you would like it, or you can give to one of your guests.
Yes, I would love that. Yes.
But the book is
yellow shoes.
That's closer, but they're peach. They're flesh color.
Peach. Okay. You got me there.
But I would more than happily give a copy. I'm very proud of it, and I'm about to do a Artist Way group, and a part of that will be to teach other people how to publish their own book, how to get it on, and how to make it a bestseller in your category on Amazon.
I just had an author on from Texas last week. His name was Tom McKeon, and he wrote a book about a high school basketball team that they were underdogs. Nobody gave them a chance, and they won a championship in Long Island, New York in the 70s. So it's great to have authors on, and congratulations on the book. And where can our audience purchase this book online? And is there a hard copy available too?
I'm working on the audiobook and the hard copy. Right now, it is only on Kindle, or as a digital book. You can purchase it on Amazon, or you can purchase it on my website, which is www.superflyers.biz. I have a page. It's called Further, Farther, Faster. That's where a bunch of stuff is there. That's where they can get the book, and when the audio and the print version is ready. So my goal was, again, I'm trying to learn how to break big tasks into smaller things, and to keep in mind, done is better than perfect, right? So most of my smart friends, they go, oh, I can't do that yet. So that was my practice with this book. Just get it done. So I'm proud of myself. I got it done.
Nikki, before we wrap up the show, for those people out there that are watching our show live stream or on audio, and they're looking to start up their own business as an entrepreneur, what advice would you give them? What advice would you give to those people from your experience?
Don't be afraid of making mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes. Entrepreneurs make mistakes, and from my experience, that's the only way that you're gonna learn. I asked, okay, I'm gonna hurry up. I asked my tax people. I asked friends. I didn't, when they came like, what do I incorporate? Is it LLC, a corporation, a DBA, and everybody, even to this day, the answers are all over the place. It's crazy. You just got to get in there and do it. That's it. Do something today. That's what I can say. Do something every day, and you'll know if it's for you. And even if you especially if you make a mistake, you'll learn. You'll learn how to fix it, but you won't if you don't do anything.
Nikki, that's great advice. Have you thought about going on TikTok and doing kind of inspiration videos too at some point?
I wanted to go on TikTok and do some of those dance videos, but I have a TikTok channel, but it's not very developed. So,
okay.
What do you think I could motivate people to do? Start their own business?
Just from your own experiences as an entrepreneur and wearing hats. Like obviously I'm wearing a hat today, but in any career, it's important to wear many hats. It doesn't mean you have to be the best at everything, but I think the more you can learn and do, that makes you more valuable in that career.
I think I'm going to go make a TikTok video today and call it Just Do It, Nikki's version.
And I will follow you and subscribe.
Okay. All right.
Nikki, as we wrap up this show, I could talk to you for 5 or 6 hours, but I've got to cut it short in a few minutes. I'm going to do this question with you because I do it with all my guests. What are 3 words to describe yourself?
Gregarious. Gregarious is one. I'm definitely Southern sassy. I don't know if that's 1 or 2 words. Southern sassy. And this is another, I'm a know-it-all. Curious. Do they have to be 1 word? Curious. Fun. Bipolar. All right, that's enough words.
What are some fun facts about Nikki Stiles Baker that the audience might not know about you?
I love to dance. I love to read, and I love people to read to me. Like, just read. Like, just if I went on a picnic, like, come on, let's read this book. Like, that's so fun. That's so boring. And another fun fact is I know how to make really good peas and rice. And I speak a lot of different accents if I want to. Like if I want to make peas and rice, I can make peas and rice. You know what I'm saying?
On my way over, I'm hungry now. I'll see you soon for food.
All right.
What's a fun fact about Alabama and your favorite superhero? And if you could be a superhero, what superpower and your favorite Prince song? Prince song.
See, now you're asking me all kinds of stuff I like. The best things about Alabama is fried chicken and sweet tea. If you don't know what that is, you better come find out. And my superhero power would be flexibility. Like I would be like the rubber woman. Like you try to put a boulder in front of me, I'm like stretch on around it. I'm gonna stretch it. I'm gonna just go over it. I'm gonna just go under it, push it to the side. I'll be a flexible, stretchy lady. And my favorite Prince song, I have to say, is I want to say "Darling Nikki," of course. But there's so many.
Let's go crazy.
Oh, let's go crazy. There's a really old song called "When You Were Mine," and it's about how his girl was just doing him wrong. That made me. I think that's when I fell in love with Prince from that song because I was like, wow, like he was like, I used to love you so much. Used to let my friends come over and sleep in the bed, and you wouldn't even have the decency to change your sheets. I was like, wow, what kind of love is that? He loved that woman, but stuff like Raspberry Beret, he put the girl on the back of his bike, so if your friend is still out there, I felt, how could you not love Prince? Like he was just on the motorcycle, but the stories that he was telling were so deep, or just like sometimes it snows in April, just the saddest. And he redid Bonnie Raitt's "I Can't Make You Love Me." But I love Prince's version more than anybody else's version. I can't make you love me if you don't.
For me to be a superhero, it would be the Ant-Man.
Because you're so tiny. Right. Well, that's a great power, right? To get in there where nobody sees you. As I sometimes used to call myself a red ant, right? Like nobody's afraid of an ant, really. They just aggravate. But look, ants can get in there and take care of business without anybody ever knowing. So you might be the Ant-Man camouflaging as a Chris.
Just look down to see me. Just look down.
Yeah.
Finally, this is a new segment I started a month ago. It's called Ask the Host CDP a Question. Do you have a question to put me on the hot seat before we wrap up our episode?
So Chris, why did you wear that Florida Marlins hat over there?
I felt like wearing a teal hat today. I'm not a fan of the Marlins, but my friends a couple years ago, they went to Florida a couple years ago when things were better, and they liked the hat, and I like the color, and it matches my golf shirt. I'm wearing a teal color shirt, so teal's blue, red, and teal are my three favorite colors.
Okay, so we kind of got some similar colors. I'm going to Miami next week, so I'll see if I can find you a matching Marlins. Not because they're a great team, but because the colors are wonderful.
Yes, they stand out. It's a standout type of color.
And I'll ask you then another one if you'll let me then. How did you come to start this podcast?
Through volunteering with a semi-pro basketball team 6 years ago. They needed a camera operator. I'd never done camera work before, so they showed me what I needed to do, and I was nervous. And after the game, they paid me for doing the camera work, and I liked doing it. And then my camera work led to me starting the podcast during the pandemic. And then when the pandemic here shut everything down, I said I want to get into radio, and I turned my podcast into a radio show for a couple years. And unfortunately, the media radio industry's kind of cutthroat, so I lost my show on the station because the owners of the station shut the station down. So I'm working hard to either continue to build my business up and continue to get more advertisement and money coming in through this, or to get back on the radio. So volunteering basically led to doing camera work, to led me doing this, being at the right place at the right time. But volunteering has been a big part of my life for 30 years now.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, that's another thing I would advise people if you're having a hard time getting your foot in somewhere, volunteering doesn't help. That's back to that free work, right? It sounds counterproductive, but it's definitely a way to get your foot in a door that's otherwise closed.
Finally, Nikki, where can our audience follow you on social media, your company's website, and the best way for people to contact you, and your next podcast show on Facebook?
Okay, I'm Nikki Stiles Baker on Facebook and Instagram. My business page on Facebook is Further Farther Faster. Facebook at Further Farther Faster. That's my business page. My company's website is superflyers.biz, and it's spelled SUPERFLYERS, superflyers.biz. You can leave me messages at any of those places if you really want to get in contact with me. And what was the last thing?
Your next podcast show.
Oh yeah, my podcast is every Friday. Right now, only on Facebook, exclusively on Facebook. That's the right way to say that. At 7 Eastern time. And we call it Tap In. I call it Tap In because it's kind of like a personal conversation about business and self-improvement with my co-host, Rich Milholm. And I call it Tap In because we thought about what if we could invite other people to that discussion. But we definitely are building a very focused group of people who are seeking to improve themselves in this social media space and to learn from each other. So that's what we do.
I'm hoping one day to be a guest on your show too.
I would love you to. So we were thinking, I'm gonna do a guest only once a month. That would leave us with 3 others where we're just talking whatever other stuff. But so I didn't want to get overwhelmed. But who knows what we'll do later? And we are thinking about if we'll direct to some other platforms to focus on certain parts of what the show can do instead of trying to do everything in one place. But I do thank you, and again, I want to congratulate you on your work, Chris. You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you so much, Nikki. And it's the guests that make a talk show. And I treat every show like it's an audition for radio because I prepare and I'm organized. And I just love doing what I'm doing. And it's storytelling and the listening to the guests as well. And you have an open invite to come back on again for a part 2 in the future as well.
Okay, I'll be back then.
And I want to. And I want to say thank you to Brenda Chambers and to Edward Hearn and everyone watching this live stream as well. And thank you to everybody listening to this on the audio platforms, Apple, Spotify, at iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Good Pods as well. I would have kept you on a little longer, Nikki, but I have another commitment at 5 o'clock. But we'll definitely have you back on again. And give me a little bit of time tonight, Nikki, and I'll send you the full video, the audio, and then I'll edit the video into some clips, like 30, 40-second clips, because our society's attention span is diminishing as well.
Yes. Well, thank you, Ed, and thank you, Brenda, and I will see you later, Chris. Love you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Continued success, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. That concludes season 11, episode 38 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership. I want to say thank you to my guest, Nikki Stiles Baker, founder and CEO of Super Flyers. She's the founder of Super Flyers, a design studio that was powered by coffee, creativity, and a whole lot of let's try and see what happens. And I want to say thank you so much to Nikki. And make sure you follow her on her social media sites. I did put them down here as well. I have so many graphics on here, so just bear with me. You can follow Nikki on Instagram at Nikki Stiles Baker. She is on Threads, Nikki Stiles Baker on Threads, Facebook, Nikki Stiles Baker on Facebook, and her company's website is www.superflyers.biz/. And as we wrap up this show, guys, check out a 2025 Trax LT. Finance from 0.99% for 60 months, plus get a Costco wholesale gift card for $1,200 for eligible Costco executive members, $1,000 for non-executive members. More details at barrycullen.com or visit the dealership located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. And again, Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been the proud sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show for the last 3 years. And as we wrap up this show a little bit quickly today, I have another Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show sponsored by barrycullen.com on Monday, September 8th at 5 o'clock, but it's going to be a pre-recorded show with my guest, Margie Santos. She's a TV host, author, actress, and entrepreneur, and an ordained minister. So look forward to that show with Margie Santos. I'm going to record the episode with her today, 5 o'clock, and it should air sometime tonight as well. So again, thank you to Nikki Stiles Baker for coming on here. Please check out her company, Super Flyers LLC, and look for her on social media as well. I hope everybody has a great afternoon, and we will see you back here later tonight with my pre-recorded episode with Margie Santos, TV host, author, actress, and an ordained minister as well. So have a great afternoon, everybody, and thank you for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall.